Good evening, everybody. We're going to go and get tonight's meeting started. It is Thursday, November 8, 2018. It is now 6 p.m. I'm going to call Sac Metro Fire meeting to order. If we can get a pledge of the flag, please. Director Orzali, if you would mind.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. The open session meeting is videotaped for cablecast on Metro Cable 14, replay on Monday, November 12th at 6 p.m. and Tuesday, November 13th at 9 a.m. on Channel 14. Webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. The open session meetings are also available for viewing on the district website at www.metrofire.ca.gov. Right now is a public opportunity to discuss matters of public interest within the district's jurisdictions, jurisdiction, including items on or not on the agenda. Madam Clerk, do we have any speakers this evening?
There are no speakers.
Thank you very much. Prior to moving on to the consent item, Chief Casatini was going to give some explanation to a couple of the items. If you could, Chief Casatini.
Thank you, Mr. President. So concerning consent agenda number 5 and number 6, after lengthy discussions with PERS retirement, they had made some last-minute changes to these documents that was posted after our agendas were already drafted. The changes are as follows. For number 5, the party rate 4, 5, and 6, we had to remove the PERS Select option because we can only have one plan. PERS Choice and PERS Select is the same cost, and CalPERS recommends that we go with PERS Choice. For the second document, number 6, which is party 7, 8, and 10, we removed the word Bay from the PORAC health plan because PORAC is the same in the Bay and in Sacramento. Now, that's all very confusing, but we followed PERS advice, and we had to make the changes to the resolutions. Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you very much. Just confirming no changes to the percentages, just the wording.
Yes, sir.
Is that correct? Okay. Thank you for that, cleaning that up for us. With that being said, any questions or comments regarding the consent agenda this evening?
Well, everybody might like to know that PORAC stands for Peace Officers Research Association of California, correct?
I believe it does. I'm not quite for sure, but yes. I should know that, but no.
Mr. Chair, I'll move the consent.
Second?
Madam Clerk, I have a motion and a second. Please call.
Director Gale? Yes. Gould?
Aye.
Orzali? Aye. Sheets?
Aye.
Wood?
Aye.
Kelly?
Aye.
Barnes?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Moving on to presentation items, a service commendation plaque for Director Gale, and that would be Acting Chief Casatini. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, President. So we'd like to give this service commendation plaque for Director Gale. Director Gale has served for 2 years as a director since being elected November 8th of 2016. He's represented the communities of Alberta, Rio Linda, Antelope, North Highlands, and a small portion of Placer County. Director Gale has shown a deep appreciation for the excellence and distinguished quality of service delivered by the Sacramento Metropolitan Fire District through its employees. Thank you for your dedication to the citizens, which Metro Fire serves, Director. And I have this nice resolution signed by the board president and a board clerk that I'll walk over to you now, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
2 years of service.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
You have been exemplary of service.
Okay.
Thank you. And keep it up.
Thank you, sir.
And you have still more to go.
We have a round of applause, please.
I just want to say congratulations once again, and thank you for your service on this board and help pushing this, not only the district, but the members and everybody in the right direction. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, absolutely.
You bet.
Moving on to presentation item number 2, Sacramento Metro Fire website transparency page, and that's Computer Systems Tech Arthur Hong. Thank you very much for being here.
Hello, directors, Chief Castini. It's Matt Roseberry with Director of IT for Metro Fire, and Arthur Hong, Computer Systems Technician for Metro Fire. Director Orzali came up to us and asked about creating a transparency page for our website. He had a few key indicators that he'd like to see on our site. So Art went ahead and put that together. I'll show him where that's at.
Hello, directors. So on our Metro website, you can get to it by going to metrofire.ca.gov. And right above here, under the About Us drop-down menu, all the way down near the bottom, there's a transparency link. When you click on that, it will jump right over to our charts. We have a few images here. The first is the 2018 budget, and then we have the overtime trend data and the OPEB funding. These are kind of a thumbnail images. If they would like to download a PDF version, they can click over this download key indicators, and it will pop up the PDF, and they can have the option of downloading to their mobile device or PC or whatever device they're using to go to the site. So that's pretty much it. And then if we go further down here, if they have any specific questions, we direct them to either email our board clerk at metrofire.ca.gov, or we have a web form here that they can click on. And in our web form, they can enter their name, their email, brief question, and then submit the form. And the form will go to the board member, board directors at metro.fire.com, and we can answer from there. Any questions?
All right. Run volume. Have you had considered running time?
So the current indicators that we have on there were at the request of Director Orzali. In the future, we can discuss what else we would like to have for our transparency page. Any questions?
Director Orzali.
Matt, thank you so much for this. And I want to express my appreciation first to the board for supporting this initiative when I brought it to them. My motivation for this was really twofold. One, to obviously increase the transparency of the district. Second, was to alleviate staff time for someone like me as one of the directors when I want to look at some specific feature, just to be able to go in and find it, as opposed to put in a director's request for information. So with that said, this is the first pass at putting this onto our website. I think you've done an excellent job. I truly appreciate it. And there are some series of other things that I think we will add, or I would advocate that we add, including, as Director Gould just mentioned, call volume, which would be really important to have somebody go in and be able to see the ever-expanding call volume that we experience. I was just in Montana and happened to be talking to a firefighter from Great Falls, who told me that the volunteer fire district experienced nearly 100 calls a year. And I said, that's surprising, because we do 100,000. To that end, I would like to propose a program whereby if a director has additional information that they think should be here, that they take that idea to the board president. Indeed, anyone is invited to contact the board president about adding additional information. But I think this accomplishes my immediate goal of allowing anyone to go in and see the kind of budgetary or labor-intensive activities that Metro Fire has. One last point, I received a request for information from a citizen who wanted to know what we did with certain groups of funds, that is, fees that we charged. And I was able to go and show him the data, which was very, very useful to be able to respond, as we are charged with, to the community's needs. So with that, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Mr. President, I have a
Yes,
comment.
yes, sir, Director Gill.
It's a public document. Any citizen can request that and get it.
we can get so voluminous, we have an index for an index, and a lot of people never use the data. For what purpose? That's why it can get loaded for nothing. And I've been very successful asking, for information, and sometimes, it's already there, and I can talk to the person with a simple statement, this is why. And most of us are rather intelligent, and we have been dealing that. We can turn out tons of stuff for what? You have to be very careful with that.
No, I agree. And we did support this moving forward just because of the fact if someone wants to look at some initial cost, it's right there and there's nothing in the hide on
Yeah,
that.
it's a
But you're
public
correct.
document.
Correct. Well, thank you, Director Rosali. Thank you for the presentation. Any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to the President's report, I have nothing. We have one more meeting before the end of the year, and I imagine we'll be discussing who will take over the seat at that meeting. Moving on to the Fire Chief's report, Acting Chief Casatini.
Yes, good evening, President and Board, and Labor Vice President Trevor Jameson. Good evening. So Chief Harms is on his way back from Monterey from taking some leadership classes, so I'm sitting in for him. On November 1st, firefighter Carl Powell retired after 26 years of service. So congratulations to Carl. As far as recruitment, we have 2 open recruitments for promotional exams. We have the supervising arson investigator and also the supervising fire inspector. Those should close in about a month, and we'll do the promotional tests for those. We'd like to acknowledge and thank our members who volunteered to work the World's Firefighter Combat Challenge course hosted in the city. We had a recruitment booth open all week. We're the only fire agency to stay there all week. And that was held October 22nd through 27th. There was over 400 foreign firefighters from many different countries participating downtown at the Capitol. Metro Fire had some participants we placed very well. We might have a presentation in the near future to show what they did as well. So thank you to them. On September 25th and 26th, we had 2 classes of the professional development program. The title was Ownership. So Chief Harms and Chief Bridge hosted 4 different sessions. We had the room packed full of members and employees, learning about ownership, what that means to them, and how they can benefit the community. On September 29th, there was the Sacramento County Fire Chiefs Executive Group met, and the Fire Chiefs and Deputy Chief of Operations met with that as well. On September 30th, the Metro Fire hosted the Rancho Cordova City 2x2 here in this room. We talked about the training center in Station 61, the Parkway with wildfire dangers, community service events for the year. Community Risk Reduction Division had a quick presentation on also the future development of Station 68. And we meet quarterly with Rancho Cordova, so the relation's good, and that was a few hours for that meeting. On October 31st, we met with the Labor Management Collaboration meeting here with Labor. We had several hours for the meeting. We talked probably about a dozen different topics, and we meet every month. On November 1st, Chief Harms, Chief Johnson, and our Economic Development Manager, Jeff Fry, attended the Rancho Cordova State of the City. And then the next day, myself, Chief Johnson, and Jeff Fry also attended the Metro Chambers State of the Sacramento County Forum downtown as well. Just as a quick reminder that our offices will be closed Monday, November 12th in observance of Veterans Day. And that is it for the report, unless you have any further questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments? Very good. Moving on to the operations report, Chief Bridge.
Good evening, President Barnes, Directors, Chief Casantini. I'm Eric Bridge, Deputy Chief Operations. Just wanted to update you a little bit about what's going on. As most of you are aware of the fire burning up in the Butte County, which is in the town of Paradise. So if you haven't already been known, the whole town of Paradise has been evacuated. It's about 0700 hours this morning. A fire started, unknown on the cause at this time. Obviously, with the low humidities in the single digits and high winds at 50 miles an hour, it's the perfect storm for rapid fire spread. So that's what we have. That fire has spread to well over 18,000 acres in that short period of time, which is a tremendous growth period. Fortunately, the heavy winds have come and gone, but there will be some substantial winds that'll carry on over the next several days. But we're being told through the weather forecast that the heaviest part of those winds have already curtailed somewhat. So we'll see how that works out for us. We have sent out quite a bit of resources in the region with 3 strike teams, one of them being an all-metro strike team. We have about 50 of our members that are up there assisting right now. Most of them coming from the 10 engine companies that we've sent out. Then we have a few overhead support personnel, and our helicopter is up there. Copter 1 is in that area and finished for today due to the weather, obviously. And then we have Copter 2 back here providing service for our community as well. So that's an update on it. There was also some reports of a couple firefighter injuries up there. That happened first thing this morning when the fire started. Not a whole lot of details other than we believe at this point they're both at the UC Davis Burn Center, and they're going to be, they have some injuries, but they're going to be okay. So I don't want to get too ahead of myself on these preliminary reports that when this fire breaks out like this, a lot of times you come a few days later to find out the pieces start to come together and all the information's not accurate. But we do know there is at least 2 injuries. But there were many other civilians that were burned from this fire so far, and they are also taking up some space at the burn center. So our hearts and prayers go out to them and their families. So right now we still have lots of people sheltered in place, and one of them is the Kmart there in Paradise. So we have a lot of fire resources protecting that Kmart, where it was too dangerous to evacuate all those people at that point because the fire had spread so fast. So waiting for updates on that status as well. That provides you most of the update on the campfire, is what they're calling it, in Paradise and the Butte County area right now. So it's looking to be taking an angle right around Chico. Chico, it's still a little ways away from there, but it doesn't look like it when you're up there. It looks like it's pretty close, so we'll see what happens overnight. Closer to home, we had a fire back on November the 4th down in the Battalion 9 area, in 53's first 2 area. It came in around 3:30 in the morning. And we had another near miss where, fortunately, one of our fire captains had partially came through the roof, and his jacket popped up on him during that time as he slid through, and made a little contact with, is what it sounds like, with some of the structural members that caused a minor burn to his hip area. He didn't even really know about it until after the fact. Of course, the adrenaline settles, and then you realize quickly, hey, I got a little burn spot. So he was checked out, evaluated, and released, and went back home. He's doing very well, and we'll be back to work shortly. That fire is still under investigation, and so we'll wait and see the cause of that one. In addition to that one, we'd had that other close call. I think I briefed you a couple weeks ago. It was right after the one on Howe Avenue. So no, there's no change there. We're still, that one's still under investigation as well. And as Chief Casantini mentioned, the mentoring and is our next PDP. Did you mention, Chief Casantini, we're doing that, mentoring our next PDP session? I know you talked about the previous. No. So we talked about ownership, and now what we're going to be talking about is mentoring. We believe succession planning is extremely important, and through the mentoring process, we have one of our battalion chiefs will be leading that presentation. We'll have 4 sessions, 2 on the 14th and 2 on the 15th, 1 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon, and that'll be right here. So we're looking forward to that. In addition to our 3,500 calls that we're averaging on 2 weeks, we're keeping those numbers right around the same, give or take a couple. So with all that, if you don't have any questions, I think, you might want to tune in to Channel 13 tonight at 10 o'clock. There'll be a story on our Air Operations Division. So you can put that on your calendar a couple hours away. So yeah, anything else you have, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments for Chief Bridge? Thank you very much. Moving on to Firefighter Local 522 report. Trevor Jamison, thank you.
Good evening, President Barnes, directors, Chief Casantini, and staff. Just wanted to take a few moments and just express my gratitude that as the year is closed out, that in my first year here, that the information flow that we have between the board and Chief Harms and his staff, I do appreciate how I'm able to talk and communicate with each one of the board members and have a honest and straightforward dialogue. It is very appreciative on my side. Same goes with Chief Harms and his staff. We have what I perceive to be a very open dialogue with everyone, and it seems like the information flow is we're learning how to use that and work together. And then talking about labor management, we're learning that. It's like 2 years in with the chief, and we're starting to really learn how to work together. And this year, a couple of things that, one, we had a young firefighter come and talk about putting some equipment on ambulance, which was, I think that's all getting done right now. And then you guys are going to get a presentation from Andy Whaley, a captain, about doing some memorials for firefighters who line of duty deaths in this department from a historical perspective. And to watch kind of us work together, figure that out, and kind of champion one of our own to do something like that is pretty special. And I look forward to having Andy come and present that to you. And then, we talk in day out. We have our members driving up to work on this fire up in the Chico area, and we have residents that are getting burned and firefighters been burned, and it's an amazing thing that we do. And I think sometimes you just got to step back, and then you look, and then you come back home. We had a firefighter get burned on a house fire, and we had some firefighters involved in a vehicle accident. And one of the things that I really, really admire is between myself, the chief and his staff, and you, is that the information flow and the way we care about each other, and just that we check on each other. And when we talk about mental health, we all know sometimes it's that first hour or two when someone cares and you hear about it. And I hope that is the way we continue to move this place forward, because it is nice to know that I know the chief knows that you are all getting updated and you guys care too. So, and I appreciate that, and I hope to maintain that. And finally, I want to say, congratulations, Director Gale, on your 2 years of service. I want to congratulate the 3 incumbents who didn't have to run, Director Orzali, President Barnes, and Director Kelly. And I also like to congratulate Cindy Sailors, who's in the audience, on her election victory on Tuesday night. So with that, if you have any questions, I'm all done.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments? No, I want to thank you for reaching out and always being available for us for questions, and for me, absolutely getting down into the weeds on a lot of things. So I appreciate you taking the calls from me and the time to meet. So thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to committee and delegate reports. Executive committee has not met, and we do not have a meeting scheduled at this point. Communications Center JPA, Assistant Chief Johnson.
Good evening, President Barnes, Director, Chief Castantini, Mo Johnson, Assistant Chief, Special Operations. Comm Center JPA has not met since your last meeting. They meet tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock in these chambers. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much. California Fire and Rescue JPA training, Deputy Chief Shannon.
Thank you, President Barnes. I was up here, months ago, and we kind of highlighted a little bit of what the JPA was going to kind of accomplish or try to push forward this year. So a little bit of report tonight on what's been happening in the last couple of months, and some of the classes that they've been putting on at the JPA across the hall. That's really helped out our members and the region's members. A couple of classes that just happened was a fire line medic, which is a first time they've done that. Retired Captain Scott McKinney, some of you guys maybe remember his name, put the curriculum together and came through and taught a lot of our folks in the last, that happened over November 1st and 2nd. I also hosted a resuscitation academy with Dr. Mackey. Had 16 different agencies from folks from out of state. Seattle came down. From what I understand, it was quite the room to walk into and see some of the impressive folks that were in there that were teaching and spreading some of the word on the CPR, that high performance CPR is what they call it. They also, October 31st, they finished training for all Metro personnel in what's called hand-heavy. It's a ALS pediatric, basically a PALS, new PALS type of class. That was done for all Metro employees. A couple other ones, they are moving forward with that Orange County. I talked about they had some contracts outside of this agency that they were going to assist with. So they're moving forward with the Orange County. And they're going to coordinate some classes coming up with USAR teams, Task Force 6 and Task Force 8. So they're moving forward, doing exactly what we've asked of them, moving forward. I believe their classes are actually scheduled out to next July. So they're moving forward and doing great work over there. So that's the end report, if you have any questions.
Thank you very much. Any comments or questions? Thank you. Appreciate it. Finance and Audit Committee, Director Kelly.
The Finance and Audit Committee would normally meet on our second Thursday or our fourth Thursday of the month, and since we'll be away for the holidays, I imagine we will meet as required. Possibly, I don't know, anybody do anything tomorrow night?
Yes.
Thank you.
Busy, yes. No. Policy Committee, Director Gould.
No report.
Thank you very much for that extensive report. Moving on to, we have no closed session items, so we'll be moving on to board member comments and questions. We'll start all the way to my far right. Director Gale.
I want to continue to contribute for the summer camp. I would hope that, I'm going to set aside, for about 5 students if we can, because it's an excellent program. And a lot of kids and a lot of people, well, at one time, I can remember we had a La France bar wagon in my neighborhood. And it was a great thing for Mardi Gras to ride on that thing, either go by the firehouse on the way to school, and guy give you a sandwich, a banana, an apple, or something. But that's a great class, and I will continue to contribute for some student from my school district to come to that great camp. And that's one of the great things that this district do for the community. It is really involved. Don't forget, it's the people's business, and you have been excellent on that participation for the community. And I'll miss that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and I agree that camp is crucial to what we do in the community, so thank you. And again, thank you for your service. Director Gould.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just wanted to send my condolences and heartfelt concern for all of those individuals up there in Chico. We're hearing that, not only have we lost lots of homes and buildings, but lives as well. And so, and I also want to just, let our staff know that we're thinking about them tonight as they're up there fighting those fires and doing what they can to keep that at bay. So our thoughts and prayers are with all of them. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Gould. Director Rosali.
I just again wanted to thank the staff for their support in bringing together that transparency report. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Rosali. Director Kelly.
Yes, I'd like to wish the very best for all those individuals that are out on the lines in the fire that's north of us, and wish my son-in-law health and Godspeed. Director Gale, been a pleasure serving with you down at the other end.
It's been a pleasure to serve with you.
Best of luck to you in your future endeavors.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you, Director Kelly. Director Wood.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also would echo well wishes and hope that all our men and women up in Chico get back soon and join the families and have a wonderful Thanksgiving. So thank you.
All right, Director Sheets.
Good evening. I wanted to congratulate Mr. Powell on his retirement and wish him best wishes. I also like to thank Trevor for taking the time to meet with me to go over questions in detail with transparency. I also want to wish a safe return for our crews and prayers to the community who's been affected, and then also prayers for the firefighters and the citizens who've been injured. And then also like to send my prayers to the victims from last night's shooting.
Thank you very excuse me. Thank you very much. Everything that's been said about the fires, we talk about the retirements. Congratulations. Hopefully you get to be as retired as many years as you worked. That's important. Sorry, I was looking at my phone and I feel bad. I don't have the name of the sergeant from Ventura County, and if someone does, I would love to get that name prior to us convening here. But we think about, Trevor Jameson brought it up well, and what this industry does. So this morning or last night, there was gunfire in a nightclub. Multiple people perished. A sergeant in Ventura County calls his wife before he goes in and says, "I'm going into this." And he ends up losing his life. At the same time, fire personnel are also responding in a chaotic situation where everybody's running at them, wanting help, but how do you triage that, right? Then at 7 o'clock in the morning, a fire breaks out in Butte County, and our strike teams are starting to gear up, get called, and they take off. All in the time where we're heading into the holiday season, where we want our families to be together. And again, it just speaks of the industry of public safety and the fire industry. When someone calls, we don't ask why, we just go, right? And it's just a heroic event. Not only the frontline people, but the people behind the scenes to help make sure the calculations work and we can keep going. But the reality is that whole support as an agency makes it a first-class agency. And it's an honor to be part of that. And I will tell you, recent 24 hours of events, again, it is humbling to sit up here, represent all of you going into this holiday season as we got Veterans Day on Sunday and then moving into the holidays where a lot of you are going to be working when others are going to be able to stay at home with their families. So I thank all of you, the membership, everybody that's part of this organization that allows me to brag about you each and every day. I thank you. I would like, before we close with a moment of silence of what has happened. I think we've done that far too often and too many times this year, but I think it's fitting for this evening.
Sergeant Ron Helis.
Helis?
Helus.
Okay, so for Sergeant Ron Helis, if we could all please stand prior to us going into the holidays.
Amen.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening. Meeting adjourned.